We all know that feeling of being too tired to cook after a long day, but you don't need hours to make something amazing. You just need these 3 recipes that are ready in under 20 minutes. First one up, we're making a smash burger taco with a delicious Chipotle sauce. First thing we're gonna make is our Chipotle mayo. In a small container, we're gonna throw in half a cup of mayo. I'm using Duke's, 1/4 of a cup of sour cream, 1 crushed garlic clove, 1 tablespoon of lime juice, half a teaspoon of salt, a few cranks of black pepper, and 2 Chipotle peppers in adobo. Now I'm gonna grab our hand blender, sticking it in there and blending that whole mixture together, making sure to break down the Chipotle peppers. I'm gonna give it a quick taste, and it needs a little bit more acidity, so I'm gonna throw in 1 tablespoon of sriracha. Give that one final mixing, and now this thing tastes phenomenal. Now let's put together these smash burger tacos. I'm gonna grab a large pan, and I'm gonna set it to medium-low heat just to preheat it. I'm next gonna grab our ground beef and tortillas. I have 1 pound of ground meat. Now to prep it, I'm gonna lay down a flour tortilla, and I'm gonna grab a very small handful of our ground beef and press it into the flour tortilla. You wanna spread it out nice and evenly, making sure it's very, very thin. Cover it edge to edge because it will shrink once we start to cook it. It should look something like this, kind of like a meat flying saucer, if that makes any sense. I'm gonna follow the same steps 2 more times, and I should have 3 prepped smashed tacos. I would say a pound of ground beef could easily make about 6 of these. Now I'm gonna grab our preheated pan and throw down about 2 tablespoons of high smoke point oil. I'm using avocado oil here. I'm gonna now season one of our patties with salt and freshly cracked black pepper, and then right when our oil starts to smoke, I'm gonna throw the patty in there to give it a nice sear. We're gonna sear this side at medium-high heat for about 1.5 to 2 minutes, really until you get a nice char on it. I'm gonna give it a flip, and as you can see, we have a beautiful char on it. I'm now gonna cook the tortilla side for about 30 seconds or until it gets nice and crispy. Oh, and I completely forgot, once you flip it, we're gonna put some freshly grated medium cheddar cheese on top to melt. Once the tortilla is crispy and the cheese is mostly melted, we're gonna move it on over to a sheet pan with the wire rack. Now I have them all cooked here and they already look absolutely insane, but we're gonna add a little bit more flavor by dressing it up. I'm gonna grab one of our smashed tacos and then hit it with a little bit of our Chipotle sauce, spreading it evenly, followed by sprinkling some nice crunchy fried onions. This is just a little crispy onion bag for salads that I found in my grocery store. I'll next hit it with a few pickled red onions for an acidic boost, and I'll sprinkle some minced Italian parsley for optional decor. And now this is your smashed taco. The beef is seared perfectly. There's a nice boost of flavor from the Chipotle mayo, a textured crunch from the crispy onions, and another acidic boost from the pickled onions. This thing tasted absolutely insane, and it took me less than 20 minutes to put together. For our second recipe, we're making an extra cheesy chicken quesadilla. Now let's first do our prep work. I'm gonna grab 1 red bell pepper and we're gonna cut off the tip, pull out all those inside seeds, and pop out the root as well. Now I'm gonna split the bell pepper in half, press it down flat on the cutting board, and run my knife through it, giving us nice, beautiful strands. And don't forget to cut as well that top piece. That's perfectly good, delicious bell pepper. I'm gonna move our bell pepper into a large bowl, and then I'm gonna grab 3 cloves of garlic. With my garlic crusher, I'm gonna crush those 3 cloves into a small container, and I'm gonna set that to the side so that we can now grab our cheeses. I have here some medium cheddar cheese and some Oaxacan cheese, which is a Mexican cheese. And if you can't find it in your grocery store, don't stress, just use mozzarella. It's very similar to the mozzarella cheese sticks you find. It's actually labeled Mexican string cheese. Now I'm gonna shred about half a block or 113 grams of our medium cheddar cheese, and I'm gonna shred an equal amount of our Oaxacan cheese. Oh, and I shouldn't have to tell you that shredding your own cheese is significantly better than buying that pre-shredded stuff, right? I'm gonna now mix our 2 cheeses together, making sure they're fully combined with each other, and I'll transfer them into a small bowl. I'm also gonna grab about 1 tablespoon of cilantro and then run my knife through it until it's finely minced. Remember that Chipotle sauce from the last recipe? This cilantro is is gonna go inside that Chipotle sauce to give it another little boost of flavor. I'll admit this step is optional, but I think visually it looks kind of pretty. Now our chopping and shredding work is done. I'm gonna now grab our protein, which is chicken thighs. 1.5 chicken thighs is probably more than enough for this quesadilla, so I'm just gonna use 2. Oh, and don't be me and make sure you're buying boneless chicken thighs, so that way you don't have to debone them yourself. I'm gonna hit it with all-purpose seasoning on both sides, making sure to get it edge to edge. Don't be scared about seasoning it. You wanna season it really heavily. You could use store-bought all-purpose seasoning, or you can make it yourself with this super simple recipe. All you need is 4 tablespoons of paprika, 2 tablespoons of granulated garlic, 2 tablespoons of granulated onion, 2 tablespoons of salt, and 2 tablespoons of ground black pepper. This is not my recipe, by the way. I'll give proper credit to the author and description down below. Now let's get to sauteing and cooking. I'm gonna grab a 12-inch non-stick skillet and I'm gonna set it to medium-high heat and drizzle in 1 tablespoon of olive oil. Now I'm gonna toss our red bell peppers in there and hit it with a sprinkling of salt, and we're gonna saute them until they soften. About 5 minutes later, I'm gonna now throw in our crushed garlic and saute them together for only about 30 seconds. I'll then transfer them into a bowl and I'm gonna throw down another tablespoon of olive oil, and I'm gonna now lay our chicken thighs in there to sear. I'll sear it on this side for about a minute at medium-high heat, and I'm gonna give it a flip, and as you can see, we already have a nice crust on the outside. I'm gonna sear the other side as well for another minute, and then I'm gonna check the internal temperature. Now, we're still not fully there yet. Both the chicken's internal temperature is around 130 degrees. For fully cooked chicken, you wanna get to 165 degrees, but for dark meat, we wanna get to 185. I ended up cooking both sides for an additional 4 minutes until we reached that perfect 185 degrees. Looking back, if I wanted to do this even faster, I would sear both sides for a minute and then I would throw it in the oven at 350 degrees convection bake. But I'm gonna remove our chicken onto a wire rack and I'm gonna clean off all those bits on our pan, and then I'm gonna cut our chicken into nice cubes. I'm now gonna grab a 12-inch tortilla and I'm gonna layer in our cheese on 1/2 of the tortilla, followed by our red bell pepper and garlic mixture and our chicken, closing it off with some more shredded cheese, and then I'm gonna fold that sucker shut. I'm gonna now bring back our 12-inch nonstick pan, setting it to medium-low heat, and I'm gonna squeeze in about a tablespoon of olive oil before I gently lay down our quesadilla in there. Now at the 2-minute mark, I'm gonna flip it, and I might have accidentally just put a little too much heat on it, and it's not really burned, but just a little too charred for my liking. About a minute and a half later, I'm gonna flip it over, and the other side is perfectly toasted with a cheese that's oozing and melting in the inside. I'm gonna transfer it over to my cutting board, cut it down the middle, and behold, a beautiful cheesy cross section. Now this is your chicken quesadilla that has some nice roasted bell peppers, beautifully cooked and seasoned chicken, and a once again insane Chipotle sauce that just brings it all together. Taste wise, this thing was absolutely delicious, especially because it only took 20 minutes to make. Lastly, it's time for our Marry Me chicken pasta that has an incredible Marry Me sauce as well as perfectly seared chicken. But first, if you're enjoying this video, I would really appreciate it if you could please hit the like and subscribe button. It helps this small but growing channel in so many ways. First thing we're gonna do is grab a small pot, fill it up with some water, and then give it a heavy pinch of salt before turning on the burner to high heat. While we wait for it to boil, I'm gonna grab half a white onion and we're gonna cut the tip off, splitting it in half and then peeling off the outside layer. I'm gonna give it vertical cuts along the top of the onion, making sure to not pass the root that holds it together at the end. I'll then run my knife through it, giving us a nice dice. Aim for a smaller size, but do what's most comfortable for you. Moving on, I'm gonna grab 5 cloves of garlic, and then with the garlic crusher, I'm just gonna crush them in a small bowl. And then I'm gonna grab about 1 tablespoon of fresh thyme and 1 tablespoon of fresh oregano. I'm just gonna run my knife through them a few times until they're nicely minced, and you'll notice that I kept the stems included as well. That's because this is a quick recipe and we don't have time to pick all those stems. I'm also gonna grate half a cup of Parmesan cheese, and I'm gonna finely chop half a cup of sun-dried tomatoes. Lastly, we're gonna grab a chicken breast and then we're gonna place our hand on it and with our knife slowly split it down the middle, giving us 2 perfect chicken cutlets. Checking back on our pot, our water has now started to boil, so I'm gonna throw in 2 cups of dried bow tie pasta. I'm opting for the bow tie because I think it looks pretty, and yes, I made a giant mess while doing this shot. I made a mess everywhere. I'm gonna stir it so that way the pasta doesn't get stuck together, and I'm gonna cook it for 10 to 13 minutes until it's perfectly al dente. Once the pasta is fully cooked, I'm gonna strain it out in the sink, and then I'm gonna hit it with some cold water so that way we stop the cooking process. I'm gonna move the pasta into a bowl, and now we're gonna grab a 12-inch pan, setting it to medium-high heat, and we're gonna squeeze in about 1 tablespoon of olive oil. I'm also gonna sprinkle some salt on our chicken, as well as black pepper and a pinch of that freshly minced oregano and thyme we chopped earlier. Once the pan is preheated, we're gonna gently lay our chicken in there on the side that we seasoned, and then we're gonna hit the opposite side with some salt and some black pepper as well. We'll sear this side for about 1.5 minutes, and then we'll give it a flip, and you'll see a beautiful crust has started to form. I'm gonna give it a flip and sear the other side as well for 1.5 minutes, and then we're gonna check the internal temperature. You can see our thinner piece is already perfectly cooked at 160 degrees, but the thicker piece still needs a little bit more time. After a few more minutes of cooking, our other piece of chicken is now perfectly cooked, and I'm gonna let it sit and rest on a cooling rack. Now let's get to work on our sauce. I'm gonna throw in 2 tablespoons of unsalted butter, and then I'm gonna throw in our half chopped white onion and hit it with a sprinkling of salt. We're gonna saute them for a couple minutes until they've softened and turned translucent, and then we're gonna throw in all of our crushed garlic, 1 teaspoon of dried chili flakes, all of our minced sun-dried tomatoes, and 1 tablespoon of tomato paste. We're gonna mix it all together and then let all those ingredients bloom for 30 seconds before we toss in 1 tablespoon of Dijon mustard just to mix it in really quickly before throwing in 1 cup of chicken stock, 1 cup of heavy cream, and half a cup of our freshly grated Parmesan cheese. Now I'm gonna gently mix all those ingredients together, making sure everything's well incorporated, and now we're gonna let this simmer and thicken up for 12 minutes, and then after the end of the 12 minutes, you can see it's already nicely thickened. Editor Xander here, don't forget to stir it occasionally as well. I'm gonna throw in a large handful of baby spinach, and I'm gonna mix it in until it starts to wilt and soften. From here, I'm gonna cut the heat and then throw in all of our minced thyme and oregano mixture, making sure to mix it in thoroughly so it's evenly dispersed. And now this is your Marry Me chicken sauce. But this is like a double serving of sauce, so I'm gonna pour it in a container so I can save half of it for later. I'm gonna now throw my pasta in our pan, and I'm gonna hit it with half of our Marry Me chicken sauce, making sure to mix it and reheat the pasta fully. I'm gonna now plate it by pouring it in a bowl, and then I'm gonna lay down our 2 chicken cutlets, which I sliced while we simmered the sauce. Hit it with some freshly grated Parmesan cheese, as well as a few cranks of black pepper and a little bit of Italian parsley, and that's it. And now this is your Marry Me chicken pasta. Perfectly cooked pasta and chicken absolutely smothered in an insanely flavorful Marry Me sauce. I won't lie, I've never had this before, and it absolutely blew my mind at how good it was. It looks like I might just have to marry myself and be forever alone.
Now, I'll admit, I might have gone a little overboard for that last recipe, but if you want to make 3 different avocado toast recipes in under 5 minutes, then check out the link for this video here. Thank you so much for watching, and please like and subscribe.